Hey, how's it going? I hope you're doing well today. My name is Jess. Welcome back to the channel. Today I'll be starting a new video series which I'm really excited about, and you've probably seen it around on BookTube. It's the Read It or Unhaul It challenge, but I wanted to put my own little spin on it. So if you've been on the channel before, you may recognize the TBR cauldron. So this is my TBR jar equivalent, and it has a bunch of prompt slips inside. Right now there's not a ton of slips in here, so if you have ideas for prompts you want to put in the cauldron, let me know in the comments down below. I would love to hear your devious little ideas. Since we've got this cauldron with a kind of spooky, witchy theme, and I love Halloween vibes all year round, I wanted to come up with a name for the series that would fit well with the cauldron vibe, and so I asked on Books to Ash's Discord server. Thank you to you guys who suggested names, and thank you to those of you who also voted on the community poll on the channel to help me pick a name. So without further ado, I introduce you to the Bewitch or Ditch series, because the books that I pull from the cauldron must either bewitch me or they will be ditched from this household. So before I do the first pull from the cauldron, I just want to set up a couple rules for the series as well, or clarifications, I suppose. The prompt slips in here are, can I just take the handle off? I'm taking the handle off. First, the prompt slips in here are color-coded. They each have a line on the card. I'm trying to cover up the prompt, but each of them has a line on it, either purple or it looks like yellow, but in my case it's orange. A purple line means that it's on my physical TBR, which is these three bottom shelves behind me, and an orange line means that it's on my digital TBR, which means I'm going to borrow it from my library. I know these challenges usually only apply to physical TBR books, but in my case I have a lot of digital TBR that's been there for months or maybe even over a year, and I would love to get around to them, so they will also be included in this. I track my digital TBR on my Notion spreadsheet, but sometimes I kind of forget that those books exist and that they are an option, so I have this little tin where I have the book covers of the digital TBR inside of here to remind me through object permanence that they do exist and that I can read them. So if I pull a card with an orange line out of here, I'm going to be checking this tin for a digital TBR book that I can borrow, and that also lives on the TBR shelf. I think that covers everything I wanted to clarify, so let's get into the first poll. And you can read it first, okay? Something book on TBR. Shortest book on TBR. Okay. The cauldron has been very nice this morning. So I'm going to move you down to look at the TBR shelves, and we're going to pick the first book for Bewitch or Ditch. So welcome to TBR Town. This is my whole physical TBR, and it's organized roughly by genre. This shelf is graphic novels / YA. This is just carryover, but this is also young adult / middle grade. This is all sci-fi up until about here, and then it transitions into fantasy. This is all fantasy, and then I have a couple that don't really belong in one category or the other. I have a little bit of horror and then thrillers. If we're picking the shortest book here, I really only see a couple options. Nick and Charlie may be an option. This is 153 pages. And then this one is also a little tiny one. This one I don't think is going to be, that's going to be 200 and something, I'm sure. I also took a look at The Haunting of Hill House. This one is 170 something pages, so this will not work. To Be Taught If Fortunate is 135 pages, so this is going to be our first Bewitch or Ditch book. I'm going to put the prompt back in the cauldron since next time we pull it, there will be a different shortest book, so that will go back in. Are you the same height that you were before? I'm really excited to get into this one because not only am I a huge Becky Chambers fan, this also is going to count for my ゚Links TBR, which is the magical readathon hosted by The Book Roast. One of my prompts for the readathon is a book cover that has your birth flower colors on it, and for me it's either Cosmo or Marigolds because I'm an October birthday. This is literally the perfect marigold colors, and so I'm going to read this for ゚Links. So next time I see you, I'm going to have my final thoughts for this book, and we'll do our second cauldron pick. So I'll see you then. It's been a few days and I have finished To Be Taught If Fortunate, so I'm here with my final thoughts on this. So to kind of summarize what this is about, it is about 4 astronauts who are on a space expedition. They're on a space shuttle of some kind, and they have been sent out from Earth to collect data and study life on different planets. And so during the events of this novella, they go to a few different planets and discover what is on that planet, the conditions that are on the planet that may or may not be hospitable to life, and we do get to see a bit of that alien life and what kind of life forms are out in the universe on some of these planets. So it is interesting in that regard from like a scientific standpoint, especially if you're a scientist or you find a lot of these kinds of scientific discoveries interesting. I will say this has a very dry academic kind of tone to it. It's not overly academic by any means. It's not like you're reading, well, sometimes it kind of does feel like you're reading a little bit of like a textbook, but it's not overly dense by any means. It's very short, so you can get through it. I think the scientific aspect of it was interesting with these astronauts going to these new planets that have never been seen by humans before. So these are the first first humans to set foot on these planets, which is interesting. I think there were some interesting things going on with the dynamics of the crew members. There was a polycule situation happening because the 4 of them were all romantically connected in some form, and those few moments of human connection and seeing the love that each of them has for each other, those were good moments, but there just weren't enough of them. I just felt like I was kind of left a bit wanting from this, and I didn't really get the emotional resonance that some other people have gotten from this. I really wish I did. The opinions on this are so positive, and as a Becky Chambers fan, it does pain me to say that this isn't my favorite Becky Chambers that I've read in general in this Bewitch or Ditch series. By the way, I'm not going to go too insanely in-depth on all the plots and all my thoughts on them, and I'm not going to show the star rating either. That kind of deeper dive will be in my monthly wrap-ups. This is more of just like a surface level kind of look at the story and how I felt about the book, and so unfortunately this one did not bewitch me, and I don't know if I want to get rid of it. I don't really want to ditch it. I just am not as charmed by it as I thought I was going to be, and so maybe after this monthly wrap-up I will unhaul my copy. I might put it in a little free library because I did highlight in it, and maybe I'll even leave my annotations in it. Maybe someone will enjoy them. But yeah, unfortunately, whoa, coming in hot. So yeah, I'm really pained to say it because I love Becky Chambers, but unfortunately I think the first book in this series is gonna be a ditch. That's so sad. It's just not my favorite from her, and unfortunately it left me wanting. And so I will put this aside just for my monthly wrap up, and then I'll put it in like a ditch pile. But with that, let's pick the second prompt for this video. I'm excited to see what we get next. Okay, I'll let you look first. If I can get it open. A book with, I cannot read that. A book with a number in the title. Okay. And this is again physical TBR, so let's take a look. Okay, we are on the floor and Mochi is here. So let's just look and see what we have as options. So far, none of these. I think out of all of the books that I have here, none of them have a number in the title except one book. So we're going to be reading One's Company by Ashley Hudson. I do love the shine on this book cover. It is very fun. It's kind of an iridescent look. This is the only option that has a number in the title unless I'm literally blind. Yeah, that's it. I'm going to put this back in the cauldron just because maybe the next time we pull it, I will have more options. Probably every prompt will go back in. I think that they're versatile enough. And even if I have nothing that satisfies the prompt, I can just draw again. So all of my prompts are going to go back in here, by the way. So I think this one sounds really interesting. I hope I like it, and I will see you when I have my final thoughts on this one. Alright, I am back with my thoughts on Bewitch or Ditch Book 2, which was One's Company, and I'm happy to say this was a bewitch. On a scale of overall bewitchery, it may not be like the highest up there, but it definitely charmed me, and I had a good time reading it. So One's Company is a contemporary literary fiction, and it follows our main character Bonnie after she wins an insane amount of money in the lottery. And with her lottery winnings, she decides she wants to go into the wilderness, buy a huge amount of property, and build from scratch the apartment building and all surrounding buildings from her favorite TV show, =Three's Company. And so what follows is a slow unraveling of all of the trauma and neglect that she's been through in her life, exploring her huge problems with intimacy and love and relationships and connections with people, and also diving into her struggles with her own identity and her lack of identity, and in turn how she's made her favorite TV show her entire personality, like to an unhealthy, obsessive level. And I think it's an interesting exploration of just psychology in general, especially the psychology of obsession and obsessive behavior. Obviously, I'm not a psychologist, although I have a psych minor. And I think that this character definitely expresses a little bit of OCD tendencies, definitely an anxiety disorder. As an anxiety disorder girl myself, I can spot one. Overall, I really enjoyed reading this, and I was definitely surprised by some of the twists and things that happened later on, some of the decisions that were made. So I think this was a fun time, and I'm happy that I read it, and I'm happy that it's a bewitch as well. So that's our first success of the series. And with all that said and done, I think we can move on to the third prompt pick, and I think I'm going to keep it to 3 per video in general. Hello, this is editing Jess. I was literally just editing this video and realized that I am an idiot, and I completely ignored the color of the cards. So you will see that I'm reacting to orange lines as if they were purple lines, which would be physical TBR, but I should have been looking at my library books. So yeah, I'm an idiot. I think I'm going to go back into those cards in my jar and just write physical or library in that colored spot so that I can actually remember which color means what, because I clearly forgot somewhere along the way. Anyways, back to the video. So let's go ahead and see what we get. Can you read that? My camera is refusing to focus right now, so I'm gonna read it to you. Wait, shortest book on TBR. Considering that we had this one already in this video, I'm gonna set it aside and say that we do a redraw because I don't want to double the same prompt in one video. So let's try again and maybe not get a repeat. Okay, let's see. Will it focus this time? All right, I'm gonna read it to you. There is no way. A book with a number in the title. I think this series is cursed. I'm gonna put that one aside too. Now we physically cannot get a repeat. All right, let's try again. Okay, next book in an unfinished series. That means a series I have not finished, not an unfinished, like I'm waiting for an installment. So we need to pick from a series that I have not finished yet. Okay, let's take a look. Oh, Mockingjay could be an option. I have not finished The Hunger Games. So that could be an option. Sorry, I moved you a little bit, but also Record of a Spaceborne Few could be an option. Sunbringer is also an option. Okay, I'm not going to take them out anymore because there's too many. A Drop of Corruption is an option. The Obelisk Gate is an option. And I think that's it. Yeah, I've got 5 to choose from. I don't really know what I want to pick. And also, I have a nail appointment in like 15 minutes. So I'm going to leave and I'm going to show you what book I pick when I next update. Put this back in the cauldron. I'll see you in the next update. Okay, bye. Okay, it has been a little bit, and I know that I left the clip on a kind of weird, like, cliffhanger because I had to leave. So the book that I ended up picking for the prompt, the next book in a series you haven't finished, I picked Record of a Spaceborne Few. This is The Wayfarers, Book 3 by Becky Chambers. And if you aren't familiar with my Wayfarers reading journey, basically I read book 1, then book 2, then book 4, and I skipped this one entirely by accident because I just didn't know. They aren't numbered anywhere on them, I think. Are they numbered anywhere? They aren't numbered, so unless you're checking online, you're not going to remember which one is book 3 and book 4. So I just totally skipped this one, and then I thought, let me come back to it. Mochi's here to assist as usual. But yeah, so I completely skipped this one, and I really loved book 1, 2, and 4 in this series. I think 2 and 4 are my favorite by far, and book 1 was really solid. This one, unfortunately, I kind of think this episode is a little bit cursed, but this is going to be a ditch as well. I am so sad because it struck me that this is the second Becky Chambers book in this video that is a ditch, and I'm kind of devastated by that because I love her work. I love book 1, 2, and 4 in this series. I love the Monk and Robot duology by her. So I'm really bummed that this one did not work for me. I didn't actually finish it. I was really struggling to push myself through it, and I got around to the 66% mark, around 70%, and I just couldn't do it anymore. I just couldn't make myself read it anymore, so I did DNF. For this series, I think DNFing is completely acceptable because the point is to clear your TBR, and if a book is not working, I'm going to count it as a ditch, of course, because I'm just not going to push myself to finish it. To kind of explain why I felt the way that I did about it, and to summarize my thoughts on it, basically my biggest complaint with this was that the number of POVs was just kind of excessive. I think there was too many characters and we were swapping between them way too frequently to really build any sort of rapport with any of them, and I think that out of all of the POVs, I think there are 5, I really only liked 2 of the POVs, and the rest I could really take or leave, and some of them I just straight up did not want to read. So to explain the POVs, you have one character who is an archivist who is responsible for archiving basically the history of the Exodus fleet. You have a caretaker for the dead, basically someone who conducts funerals and is responsible for the composting of human remains, which is what they do on the Exodus fleet. By the way, it just started to rain, so if you hear rain, it's on the skylight above you. So the third POV is, I don't even know how to explain what happens in her POVs. I don't think anything interesting or relevant has happened in that third POV. It's literally only there as a reference to book 1 because it's a character who is related to one of the characters from book 1. The fourth character is someone who has come to the Exodus fleet from one of the planetary colonies. So he's kind of having the culture shock of coming to the Exodus fleet after living planetside, and his POV is fine. He's just kind of very naive and very touristy, which I know is the point, is he's in his head trying to be like, oh, I don't want to be a tourist, I don't want to seem like a tourist, but everybody clocks him immediately that he does not live on the Exodus fleet, that he's never been there before. He's fine, he's likable, I think, in a kind of like you want to help steer him on his way kind of way. And then the fifth POV I straight up fucking hated was this teenager. Teenage POVs in general can be really fucking annoying sometimes. I think that the tone of it was just really that kind of angsty, I don't give a fuck about anything kind of teenager voice, and making really stupid decisions, which teenagers tend to do. But I just could not get myself to care at all about this teenager, and I think that the only reason we had his POV was just to show how the youth feel about living on the Exodus fleet and how they want bigger, better things, more adventurous things. They don't want to just live on these ships and have the kind of same day in, day out sort of living. I think that a lot of teenagers can feel that way about, you know, seeing adulthood looming ahead of them and the kind of way that you feel trapped or constricted by the expectations of society. And I think that was clear throughout his POV, but I really didn't like him as a character. Oh my god, Mochi got fur all over me. I think I honestly would have liked this book a lot better if it was just the POV of the caretaker and the POV of the off-worlder, or off-fleeter, I guess, rather than off-worlder, but Sawyer is his name. I think if you had just had Sawyer's POV and then the POV of the caretaker, ES, I think that would have been just fine. I think you could completely cut out the POV of the teenager and the POV of the character who is the sister of the character from book 1. I don't think you need her character either because nothing really happened with her. Aside from my complaints around the POVs, which was my major problem with this, I think the pacing was just really off because you constantly are switching POVs. You don't really know what's happening, where, what timeline this is all happening on. It just didn't really feel very cohesive, and I really struggled with this one, and I'm so bummed because I love the other books in the series. I have them up here behind me. I have the 3 of them there. I love them. I'm keeping those. That's a ditch, and that's my second ditch of the video. So I suppose we're succeeding at the goal of clearing my TBR because we got 2 books off in this episode, so that's good at least. So yeah, to recap what happened on this episode, we had To Be Taught If Fortunate, which was a ditch. We had One's Company, which was a Bewitch. And we had Record of a Spaceborne Few, which was a ditch. And obviously, as much as I would have liked to have more Bewitch books, it's still good that we're clearing off the TBR. That is kind of the goal of this series. So thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed it, and let me know in the comments down below if you have any ideas for prompts to put in the cauldron. I would love to hear your ideas, and I will see you in the next episode. Bye.